Hey, welcome back. So here's our first nail art tutorial on here. I've had a lot of people wanting to know how I do my chameleons. They want to know how I do matte finish. They want to know how I do color blocking, stamping, and so we're going to cover all that today. So as you're watching this live or you're watching the replays, if there's anything that you want to learn how to do and it's done with gel polish, then please let me know. And if I know how to do it, I'll be honest and I'll go live with you and we can work on it. If I don't know how, I will get you to the right people. And so first of all, working with the stiletto, if we had this on a client, you can see the number that's on the back side. So it's always so funny that if we leave them the same length as this, they always get the numbers. That makes me crazy. So I'm actually going to nip that off. And create a more manageable nail. So this is a fun thing that you can use these stiletto tips and turn them into another shape. It's nice, it gives you that nice tapered effect. Okay, so we're going to pretend that this nail's been enhanced, or this is the natural nail, however it is to accomplish this shape. I have a tip on with, these are called glue dots, so this is how I get to play without a model. These ones are pop-up, so the size of them here, they're really nice. I get a whole roll of them. I can take them on and off, but they stay on there pretty good, so they can come off when I want. I have one on the bottom so that when I push it down into the light or into the paper, I can get it to stay where it doesn't roll over, so if it's in the light, it doesn't put stuff everywhere. These ones have been on there for a while, so they like to be a little turny. Okay, so just like in any system, we're going to do that base coat first. Let me back up. You know, normally you would take your buffer or prep this now completely. So just for the sake of this, am I going over the glossy part of this tip? See if I can get a little bit more light in here for you guys. So just like I was showing you before, do the big bulk of it right to the center. Move it around. Move out your bristles to be able to push up to where the cuticle line would be and drag it down. Sometimes when we don't have a model and we need to practice, pretend this is just the same way it would be on a client. You know, we can't always take the client and go like this. So when you're practicing, make sure that you're practicing the same way that you would on a client. Okay, you would cap that free edge, and then I set everything in the light for 1 minute because, like I've told you before, I don't want their hand moving around. So if I do all 5 fingers, I want that hand in the light for 1 minute so that they don't move around at all and get it in trouble. I'm going to show you 2 different designs as we go through. So I'm going to base coat this one as well. Just like on the nail, I put the bulk down the center. Pillow it up to the cuticle area and drag it all the way back down. Vicky, isn't it like midnight there right now? Just seems like I know you should be in bed right now, but I'm thankful that you're up and awake with me. So what I'm going to show you in this first one is called chameleon, and chameleon actually comes in pods and stuff like that, but it's actually named chameleon. And my green is chameleon, so depending how the light hits it, you're either going to see a blue or you're going to see it as a green. It looks like under this light you're going to see it more as a green, but it does change as you move like this. And my ring finger is just encapsulated pigment with snowflake stamped on it. It's a couple weeks old, so they're kind of grown out. So I'm going to show you chameleon. Chameleon colors are just like the cat eyes, where they're actually best if you do them over a black. So one of my favorite blacks is Kiara Sky Black to Black. because it's a good one coat black. I'm going to show you some hand artwork of like a winter scene. And so I'm using gel polish for each step of this way because the theme of this class is gel polish. So I want you to know as much as you can about gel polish. I'm too interesting not to watch. Oh my gosh. So this chameleon, depending how you can see in the light, looks like it goes kind of a rose gold, a dark purple to like a kind of a light mauve color. Let's see if I can get the other lighting in here a little bit better. Well, that just turns everything yellow. Let's do this. There. Now let's see if we can see the different colors in there. You gotta love that cameras don't always pick up on all the fun. Alright, so I have my base coat set on here. All gel polishes are the same, as thin as you can get it. Put your bulk here, bring it down the nail. Push it up to your cuticle, drag it down. Of course, this is a lot longer than like my model's nails earlier, so get to re-dip. Even though it's sheer where you can see through that, that is okay. I'm going to set that in the light for, like I said, I would do the whole hand, so it's going to be 1 whole minute. On this other one, just to have fun, I'm going to coat it with the black as well. Long strokes. I don't want to get in there and see people doing this. You're not getting your side walls nice and level and your cuticle if you're always going back and forth. So that's why you kind of want to take your bristles, let it pillow up amongst the bristles, and then when you drag it back down, it's nice, long, even strokes. Kept the free edge. And then in the light. Okay, so we're going to put chameleon on this. Chameleon solid. So even this as a base is going to be a good enough solid black for that. If you're worried that whatever you're going to put on top of it is not solid enough and would show through, then I would definitely add a second coat of the black. The chameleon pods, you're going to grab an extra gel brush. This again, even though it looks like I'm getting a lot on my brush, is thin. Put your bulk of it to the center. This is very thick, and then move it around where you need it to be. Long, even strokes so that it can rest on the nail and smooth out. You'll slowly see my stroke lines be able to come out, and you'll see it get smoother and smoother across the nail. If you're doing this on a nail, wait for that completely smooth out to where your light reflection becomes a normal solid light reflection. Can you see how that changes colors? Isn't chameleon just beautiful? Okay. So when it finally settles out to be a smooth finish, then set in the light. It might take a little while, so allow it to set. Sometimes we take some of our pigmented gels and put in the light too fast, and then you never get the complete smooth finish or the benefit of being able to use it the way that it's intended to be. It's so fun. So I can see that I'm getting a nice good reflection off of that, so I'm ready to put this one into the light. And once again, 1 minute. Okay, on this one, so I just showed you the chameleon of the other ones. This has a slight tacky layer to it, so it's fun to be able to do an ombre or fade kind of look. So this is just an additive. It's a lot finer than a glitter. In fact, I'm not comfortable sprinkling this on like I would a glitter because usually I get a big chunk and make a mess. So I grab a brush. This is not a gel brush. You can see that it flares out a little bit more, so I can get a lot of my pigment on there. And because it makes a mess, I'm going to do it over a paper towel. So I'm going to use the tackiness of the gel polish to create my ombre. I like to prime the pigment into my brush, tap off the excess so it doesn't make a mess, and then I'm going to dab it into the sticky part where I want it. In this case, I'm going to let it ombre up quite a bit, or fade. And then I want it more solid here, so I'm going to come in heavier, get off the excess, and fade that up the nail while you're burnishing it in. You can tell I'm starting to get the hollow effect. The more you burnish it in, the more of that ring of color you'll get. So when you go around the nail like this, you get that extra ring of color. So for me to get the next step, I can use the makeup wedges like what they do, but I like to take my makeup wedge, and rather than the makeup applicator, to be able to get the hollow effect, and I pat it into the nail that way. This is going to take off any excess additive that I have around it, and it's going to pack that in there. And so see how I got my hollow ring going? The camera doesn't want to show it all that well. Hey Cam, we're on to a nail art tutorial. This one's a fun one. Pack it in all the way around. In this case, you're going to need to encapsulate that. And so base coat, you can continue to layer on top of itself, and it won't peel off from layer to layer like a top coat will. And I don't have to keep rebuffing it in between layers. So I use base coat because, one, it's completely clear, so it will allow my glitter, my pigment, my colors to be their truest color without clouding it. You can see that? Isn't that pretty? Just like all the other coats, thin coats, you can always layer a second coat if needed. Because I used my makeup wedge, see how I took off a lot of the excess? There's not a lot on my brush. So I can continue to use it without picking up a whole bunch and redepositing it where I've gone before. It's kind of another advantage to that makeup wedge. Nice long strokes. Encapsulate the corner, encapsulate your free edge. And you just get a great hollow prism off of that. So once again, that's encapsulated with the base coat, so I would set that in the light for 1 minute. Okay, so here's that chameleon. It was set into the light. Let's see if I can pull off different colors. So dark purple, reached dark purple, kind of a mauve, a little bit of a rose gold. So it's always fun how you can see it color changing. I never thought about using a base coat. I get clouding on mine from using the top coat. So the top coat, you have to continuously go in and buff between each coat, and you're right, you end up getting a cloudiness, so you don't get to see your pigments and your colors in their purest form, and that can be so frustrating. Look how deep dark purple that looks right there. I love this color. Like I said, mine's the green. Mine goes from like a turquoisey blue. Let's see if I can make a deep dark blue into this light green. I did mine on a challenge. I've never worn green on my nails ever, ever, ever. And I was doing a workshop, and I said, sometimes we just have to live outside of our box and do something different. She goes, yeah, why don't you? And I went, okay, touche. So I purposely did the green chameleon just so that I can prove to her that I can live a little too. Okay, so both of these would have a tacky layer. And so at this point, what I need to do is remove the tacky so that I can do artwork. And I'm going to use my makeup wedge again. I'm going to use that 91% alcohol, which I already explained why I use 91%. Remove the tacky layer. If you looked at your makeup wedge and you get a lot of your coloring on your wedge, then what you need to look at, as long as you know you're doing thin layers, you need to make sure your light is okay. Your bulbs can be going bad, or the LED's been on there too long, and maybe it's an older light. And so if you're finding that you're getting a lot, a little bit on your makeup wedge is normal, but if you're getting a lot on there, it's proving that your light's not setting your gel all the way. So just use that as a tool to be able to know, make sure what your troubleshooting is. So, okay. So on this one, I'm going to do a winter scene. I'm going to use white gel polish. And being the theme of this class is gel polish, you can use gel paint, you can use acrylic paint, stripers, or whatnot. But I'm going to show you with the products that you already have on your shelf what you can do artwork with. So that way you're being cost effective and not always have to go out and spend so much money. Alright. So I'm using finger paints. I'm so used to using their striper brush and how thin it is that I like to use the striper brushes out of these better than my actual brushes that I've purchased that are not in those. So you can tell over here, I'm going to move my camera just a little bit. I have it dotted on my glass. It's not going to cure on my glass because it's not going to be cured in the light, so therefore I can wipe it off my glass just really easy. A lot of people use like pieces of tile. So I'm putting the gel polish onto my striper paintbrush. This is a winter tree. It's almost like the messier the better. Drag it across. So this is going to be the bottom. I'm going to kind of taper it up to the top. It should be about that high. Just layer it, go back and forth. Okay. I'm going to add a trunk to it. And then maybe even a little snow scape to it. If you want to, dimension it and give it a little bit more forefront, you can add another tree and another trunk, so it gives it a little bit extra dimension. So this is just the first layering of this. So I'm going to set this in the light, as always. If I was just doing one nail, I would put it in, 30 seconds and then go back to the same nail. My clients end up liking all this nail art on all 10. So I put in the light for the whole minute, but you can flash set this when you're doing art. Okay, on this one, just because I'm still using gel polish, I'm going to use the white. I'm using that same striper brush. Long strokes. Wherever you touch first is going to be your widest part. So get it to the brush to where it's going to flow with you. As you're going, you're going to notice it get less and less and less and less and less. The heaviest point here. And kind of pull up on your brush to get the tapered effect that you want. Maybe even add another one. So striper brush and gel paint, and look at all the things you can do with that. To go to the next level on this, if you're worried about your gel polish moving around, you can set this in the light so that it doesn't move. But if you're comfortable and maybe you're just doing one nail and you want to continue on, you can take a dotting tool, dip it into the gel polish that's on the desk, and follow that with some dots and create your design. The cost of that is 1 dot of gel polish, enough to probably do all 10. The time doesn't take that long, but yet what you can make off of this is quite a bit. So It doesn't cost that much to do some fun hand-painted nail art on your clients. So I'm going to set that in the light so that that can cure. Now we're back to the tree. I really like my tree to layer up. So I'm going to take my gel polish again, and I'm going to come in again and then layer it some more. You get a little bit, you can tell how the white is whiter again, and you get a little bit of a 3D effect where it comes and lifts off of the nail. Bring that over a little bit more. Just for fun, I'm going to bring in another ground layer. Just makes it a little bit more dimensional. I mean, you could get away with the one coat, but I always think it's fun to add a second one in there. So I'm going to show you guys how, I'm going to set this on the light, and on the sticky part, I'm going to foil on that and give it an added effect. So once again, this is only gel polish. That doesn't cost that much to do it. It's quick. You can do it on one as an accent nail on all 10. But what you can charge for this can make you some money. Okay. So on this one, then we would come in and top coat it. Encapsulate your free edge and your sides. I'll take a final picture of all of these at the end so that you can see the picture without me moving it and see the detail of it. That's always fun. That would be a great New Year's nail. Has a little bit of a firework effect to it. It has the prism of it on black, which is always an extra classiness. I can say I probably would have done a second coat of black on this one just because I could see where it's a little bit sheer. But for the sake of the workshop, you can see what I did. So I've allowed the gel polish top to set long enough. See the ring of my light in there? That way I can get a solid, even look. And then it's ready to set in the light. Sometimes we can go through the art and do this perfect looking art, and we put in the light too fast to cure it, and it didn't allow the gel to settle out a little bit, not giving us that smooth finish. So from here I'm going to grab a little bit of foiling, and I'm going to show you using the tacky part of the gel polish how you can get an extra added effect. I'm going to cut, I'm going to use this silver. Vicky says, I have some shallow dampened dishes I use to put my polish instead of the glass. Yeah, that could work too. And then just wipe out the dampened dish. Me, I end up with like 5 or 6 colors on my glass, and then I just wipe it off in one wipe at the very end. So here's some foil. You want to use the matte side of your foil. Sometimes people try to use it upside down and like it doesn't work. And you want to use the tackiness of the gel polish. Push it on there and lift it up. In this case, I wouldn't do a whole lot because the darker background being so chameleon, it might overtake it. But you can tell it gives an added little effect. And then I would just top coat this one. I think it would be completed and ready. Watch all the colors come together. So my all-time favorite is after when you've top coated it like this and you can see the colors come true. Any of your artwork kind of goes glossy too if it was matte finish, and just pulls your look together. I get giddy like every time I do something like this, and I'm like, oh, I did that. Perfect song in the background to cover for a winter wonderland. Okay, so I've let my gel polish top coat sit long enough. to where I can see my light reflection. It's a nice smooth light. You know, always make sure you kind of go around with your finger, make sure it didn't pull down the side so that you don't get that waviness feel, you know. And then set that in the light. Oops. So this top coat has a tacky layer. Take your rubbing alcohol, remove the tacky. And once again, I would spray with that spray and then be able to capture my picture. Sometimes to be able to get the lighting, see how the nail would be kind of angled down with their hands down like this? Okay. Oh my gosh, my cuticles look awful. And so being down like this, you don't get the reflection of the color. But sometimes pulling their nail up into the light and being more level, you can see the difference. If we go too far, we tend to get a distorted looking nail, and then you don't get to, you know, capture the best look. So move your client's hand and move your camera angle around to be the best. You know, a lot of people are doing really short videos right now to where they can take the nails and they can go like this and show you the prism all the way around. So I'm gonna get that back into focus. So you can see the shaping is good. You can see the prism of the color. The nail's not distorted or odd looking. You can show a side view if you want. And so just make sure that your camera angles and your lighting can best capture the work that you've done, because you spent a lot of time making this the way you did, and you don't want it to be messed up by the picture. Remove the tacky layer. I like this. It gives a little bit of a 3D feel to it because I've done, you know, the 2 layers of there. Like I said, if you use gel paint or something, you can get more of a 3D look, but this is all using gel polish and stuff that you should already have in your salon. Okay, so there's 2. So I'm going to start a new video and I'm going to show you a couple more. So I'll take a picture and I'll post this into the comments of this video so you guys can see the picture up close and look at more of the detail.